More factoring today. So today I'm going to start off with a binomial multiplication again, just like I did in the previous video. But we're going to start with a tougher one where you've got some a values here. Okay, one that'll result in an a value that doesn't equal 1. So if you don't understand what I mean, you'll see in a second. We're going to do this a little bit different. I'm going to say instead of doing what we have laid out here, where we have 2x times 5x and 2x times 7, I'm going to do this in a slightly different way. So I get rid of my arrows here. Get rid of that. And instead, we're going to think of this as all one piece. We're going to multiply the 2x by that piece and the 3 by that piece. So end up with 2x times 5x plus 7 plus 3 times 5x plus 7. Okay, so doing this kind of a long way. I've talked to some people about this, and I've called this the long way. But it should help when we're trying to understand how we can go from our final expression back to the original binomial multiplication. So in this case, what you might be tempted to do is just multiply this out. But first I want to notice how we could go backwards from here. Notice that the 5x plus 7 is a common factor with the second term here. And so we could take that out and we would get back this original expression. So we have a way to go back one step here. So we can already go back to there. So that's good. Now I'm going to multiply this in. Okay, so this is going to go in and this is going to go in. Going to end up with 10x squared plus 14x plus 15x plus 21. Now, supposing that you didn't know the expression above and you were trying to find it from the one we just found, this one here, then what we could do is that this piece above comes from factoring by grouping. You could take a 2x out of the first term here and a 2x out of the second term. Likewise, in the second one, you could factor by grouping too. You could take a 3 out of 15x and a 3 out of 21 as well. Okay, now we're going to simplify. So 10x squared plus 29x plus 21. So now, if you wanted to figure out how to go from this step up to this step, now here's the hard part. How would you know to split it into 14 and 15 instead of, say, 20 and 9 or 30 and minus 1? And that's the tough part of this, is making the decision about how to split this into 14x and 15x. I'm going to show you something really cool. I'm not going to really explain why it happens. That's a matter for another video, which I'll probably put up another day. But what we're going to do is just notice what 14 times 15 is. So do that over here. So 14 times 15 is going to equal 210. Okay. Now what I want to notice is what is 10 times 21? So 10 times 21 is also equal to 210. So no other set of numbers that combine to make you 29 when you add them will give you 210 when you multiply them. So that tells you how to choose these ones. Okay? So you're looking for two numbers that add together to give you the middle term, but multiply together to give you the two outside terms multiplied together. Okay, so you're looking for two numbers that multiply together to give you this, which we'll call A, and this, which we'll call C. So we need two numbers that multiply together to give you whatever A times C is, but then add together to give you whatever, we'll call this B, whatever B is. If that's confusing to you, that's pretty understandable. Okay, so this is the reasoning why this is going to work. Now our job here is to take this back to there, then that back to there, and then that back to there. Because we're really trying to just go from here to there, but it'd be difficult to do that when it gets more complicated. So let's try A here in our examples. We've got 3x squared plus 8x plus 4, and we need to factor it. So what we're going to do is we're just going to take these two and multiply them together. So we get 12. So we're looking for two numbers that multiply together to give you 12 and add together to give you 8. Okay, so take a look at all the ways you can make 12. So you can make it with 12 and 1, 6 and 2, 4 and 3. Which ones give you 8? 6 and 2. So writing this back out, 3x squared plus 8x plus 4. And remember what this is telling us. It's telling us how to split this up. So we're going to get 6x plus 2x plus 4 and 3x squared. So now we've made our decision of how to split this up. It's just a matter of, if we go back here, take a look. Well, what did we do once we had this written out? We would have to have factored by grouping to get back there. So let's do that. So what's common between the first two? 3x. 3x times x will give us 3x squared, and 3x plus 2 will give us 6x. In the second set, this set here, we're just going to factor out a 2. That's all we can do. So 2 times x gives me 2x, and 2 times 2 gives me 4. Now what I'm doing is I'm just going to common factor out x plus 2. So x plus 2 times 3x plus 2. And so all that work tells us is that 3x squared plus 8x plus 4 came from the binomial multiplication of x plus 2 times 3x plus 2. Okay? Now, if you take a look at the second one, we can try that one too. So 3x squared plus 2x plus 4. So b, 3x squared plus 2x plus 4. Okay, so we'll multiply these together again, get 12. That's what we're looking for, the two numbers to multiply to give us. We're looking for two numbers that add to give us 2. So you may see this already, but if I write them all out, again, none of these work. So this is not factorable over the integers. Okay, let's take a look at another one. So this one's a little bit more complicated, but as long as we think about what we need to accomplish, we should be okay. So we have 16x squared plus 26x minus 12. Now you could just start off doing this, but 16 times 12 is a pretty big number. And if you think about it, you're going to have to come up with a lot of different possibilities that multiply together to give you that number. So you can make your life a lot easier if you common factor out anything that's a common factor between every term. So if I look at this, I'm saying to myself, okay, what's in common? Looks like a 2 to me. So I'm going to take 2 out. So 2 times what gives me 16x squared? Well, that's 8x squared. Plus 13x minus 6. Okay, this makes our life a lot easier. Numbers are a lot smaller. So we're going to go inside the bracket and try to factor that now. So 8 times 6 is 48. We're looking for things that multiply together to give you 48. Okay, so if you're having trouble figuring out those numbers, you can make a tree. That sometimes helps. So 24 and 2. And then 12 and 2. And then 3 and 4. And so if I'm looking at this and trying to decide, well, now I have lots of things to try in order to create possibilities. So 48 and 1 And that's definitely not going to work, right? So 48 and 1, 24 and 2, 12 and 4, and then 3. Well, how many times does 3 go in there? 3 and 3 goes in there once, 18, 6, 16. Okay, so that's the only one that could be combined in any way to make 13. Okay, so I'm gonna go with that one. So we've got 2 times 8x squared plus 13x, okay, and minus 6. Okay, now keep in mind that this minus 6 here means that we were actually dealing with minus 48. So that means that the two numbers that we pick have to be multiplied together to give us minus 48. I just leave that out because I find that I can think through it a lot better without it. So plus 16x minus 3x minus 6. Okay, so now all we're going to do is we're going to factor by grouping. So I'm just going to put a square bracket there. Help me think a bit. I'm going to take a, what does that look like? A 4x. Looks like it's the common factor here, the greatest common factor. And what would we need to multiply 4x by to get 8x squared? Well, 2x. And what would we need to multiply 4x by to get 16x? Well, plus 4. Oh, wait a second. This still has a common factor in it? Okay, well, we have to go back then and choose a bigger common factor. So it looks like we can take an 8. And those types of mistakes happen while you're working on things like this. So don't worry if they do. Now, taking a look at this second set, you could take 3 out and you'd have some negatives inside the bracket. But remember what the goal is. The goal is to find a match for this so that we can common factor that out in the next step. So instead, I'm going to factor out minus 3. So I'll end up with x and plus 2. Okay, now I can common factor this out of both of those. 2 times x plus 2, 8x minus 3. Okay, and then I can drop this big bracket. And there you have it. So this process is called factoring by decomposition. We're decomposing that middle number into components that work out in the way that we need it to. So factoring by decomposition.